Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bryan Wolf. I'm the Chief Scientific Officer here at CHOP, and I'm also the chair of a Department of Biomedical and Health Informatics. And prior to this role, I've had many roles at CHOP, but I've had, oh, you want me to step out like, so usually with Pete, he puts things on the ground for me to step, so is this where you want me to be? Okay, sorry. So, and before this, I was the Chief Information Officer at CHOP. So I come from a background of IT for the last 7 years, pathology before that. And of course, I'm really excited to launch this research affinity group. We have a number of research affinity groups at CHOP. They've tended to be mainly basic science types of groups. We have very few groups that are focused on translational research. And we haven't really created new research affinity groups in quite some time. So this is exciting. And it's exciting because the timing is right. There's been a lot of interest on the hospital side with IT, with informatics. And Madeleine Bell has declared that digital health is her key initiative. And that's all great and fine. And that's where we should be as an institution when you think of what we've been doing. But wearing the CSO hat, we want to make sure that we ask these with the research lens and the research focus. And I think what I'm hoping this research affinity group can do is to start looking at mHealth, but asking research questions. What are you interested in, and using research methodology to answer those questions. And I think this is a pretty untapped area at CHOP. I mean, there's some people, actually people in the audience here, who've done this for a number of years, and it's nice to see that there's a large group of people with those types of interests. And so I'm hoping that this will be a very successful research affinity group. Now, Dennis Durbin will be presenting shortly. He went to the wrong space. I'm not sure where he went, but he should be here shortly. and he's going to present some of the results on the research strategic planning process and the recent faculty survey that we did. I think this would be of interest to you. But let me, while we wait for him, let me just talk a bit about the strategic planning process. We're in month 11 of a very comprehensive faculty-driven research strategic planning process for the Research Institute. It touches most of the faculty who do research. We've had a lot of input, lots of work groups. And we've asked some very simple question, which is, where does CHOP want to be research-wise 5 to 10 years from now? What impact do we want to have on pediatric healthcare, and how do we get there? What are the tools, the recruitments, the systems, the infrastructures that we need to do? And obviously, out of that plan, which will be presented on June 13th at a large retreat, there's a lot of interest in big data, informatics, data science, you name it, it's in there. And it's actually a leitmotif throughout all the different work group reports. I think CHOP is very much interested in this. And so I think this is the type of research affinity group that could be a really good catalyst for that. Now, having said that, the commitment that you'll see when Dennis gets here is that we are very interested in making sure that the infrastructure is what you need to do your work in research. So we're focusing on building a top-notch clinical trial infrastructure. This is what Dennis is passionate about. We recognize that we haven't provided the infrastructure that we need, and with the types of patients that we have, we should be doing many, many more clinical trials. So there's going to be a lot of emphasis put into building the clinical trial infrastructure here at CHOP. We're committed to building up the infrastructure from the Research Institute. So the pieces that you interact with when you do research, the grants management, the IT systems, you name it, all of that there's really strong recommendations to make sure that we're world-class in terms of how we support research at CHOP. There's a big emphasis on biobanking. We have a lot of samples. We have a lot of technology on that. With biobanking, there's a big bioinformatics piece, obviously. And we think these things are crucial for some of the research questions that are being asked. And then the other fourth work group was on faculty development. And we recognize that we need to do an even better job at mentoring faculty, scientists doing research at CHOP, especially when you're starting. And there's a lot of opportunities there. So those were the sort of infrastructure work groups. And then there's 4 work groups on scientific themes. And I won't disclose them too much now because we got 300 pages of recommendations. I won't tell you how many faculty positions were requested and the cost of that, but it was significant. But we are launching a $1 billion campaign in about a few months, which will be a good thing. And so we're still working through those recommendations, and then we'll be presenting them at the retreat on June 13th.